The honorary degree will now be conferred. Mr. President, will you present the honorary degree candidate, David McLean?
Mr. Chancellor, David McLean is a lawyer and businessman, visionary entrepreneur, committed volunteer, and generous philanthropist. He has contributed much to the economic, cultural, and social well-being of this province and this country. A champion of entrepreneurial spirit, David McLean is the chair and CEO of the McLean Group, responsible for numerous important real estate developments in this city. It was David McLean who undertook the heritage renovation of the Landing, adding greatly to the character and revitalization of downtown Vancouver. During the 1980s, he foresaw a wonderful opportunity for the film industry in BC and began to develop the Vancouver Film Studios, now Canada's premier motion picture complex. Today, this province enjoys an international reputation as a major center for film and television production, in large part because of David McLean's foresight and resourcefulness. Such achievement inspires confidence in all, and in 1994, the then Prime Minister of Canada asked David McLean to lend his talent and business acumen to the board of the Canadian National Railway. As its chairman, he has guided this company to its current position as North America's most profitable and efficient railroad. David McLean epitomizes the business executive as community leader. His range of interests is broad, his embrace all-encompassing. A concerned environmentalist, he has provided leadership to protect and preserve Canada's wetlands. He has offered counsel as a member of various boards, including that of the Vancouver General Hospital, the Vancouver Board of Trade, and the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. His advocacy of education is a cornerstone of his community service. He has served as chairman of the University of British Columbia's Board of Governors and of the Capital Campaign at St. George's School. A benefactor of numerous charities and universities, David McLean is also a great friend of SFU. He has provided leadership and ensured generous support to our Bridge to the Future campaign, the Council for North American Business Studies, of which he is a former chairman, and to the Morris J. Wask Center for Dialogue. Mr. Chancellor, for his singular achievements, David McLean has received many honors, among them the Order of British Columbia and SFU's Distinguished Community Leadership Award. Today, in recognition of his unique contributions to the community, I ask on behalf of the Senate of this university that you confer upon David G. McLean the degree Doctor of Laws honoris causa.
David McLean, by virtue of the authority vested in me and in the Senate of this university, I hereby admit you to the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa. Dr. McLean will be hooded by Dr. Bill Crane, Associate Vice President, Academic.
It is with pleasure that I now call on Dr. David McLean for his convocation address.
Mr. Chancellor, Mr. President, honored guests, most important, fellow students, and ladies and gentlemen. Over the years, I have heard many convocation speakers. They all approach it from a different point of view. I always felt it was critically important to speak to students about something that was relevant to them. So here I go. I hope you will feel I will have been relevant, but more important, I hope you will feel that I've touched your soul, or I will have failed. My experience in life has taught me many lessons. The one I would like to leave you with is simple and fundamentally important. Follow your dream. Follow your dream with focus, determination, and especially with passion. You're at a stage in life where many of you have completed or close to completing your formal education. Of course, we never stop learning, because life will teach you many lessons if you keep your mind and your heart open. This is critically important. But now you must make choices for the future. Never compromise your dreams. Pursue them with passion, and you will never have any regrets. I remember as a small boy growing up on the prairies, being fascinated by trains. My father worked for the company which I now chair, so I was often around trains. For many years, he was a union leader. I gained great perspective from watching him. He was not well educated in a formal sense, having had to leave school at the death of his parents in grade 4. But he did follow his dream, and he had a passion for what he did. I loved watching trains. I loved riding on them and seeing how they moved the vast resources of this wonderful country to markets all over the world. It was now 1979, many, many years later, and I would be asked to join the board of directors of that company where my father had worked for 50 years. It was then a somewhat inefficient Crown corporation, badly in need of reform. I left the board of CN in 1986 after a government change. Then I was asked again in 1994 by the current Prime Minister to join the board again. I said, no, I've been there, I've done that. I really was not interested in being a director of a Crown corporation with all its limitations. He said, David, we have a plan to privatize this company, and I want you to lead the privatization process. I said, now you've got my attention. I remember meeting with the president of CN, Paul Tellier, at his home the night I was named chair. We spoke about fundamentals. He said, what do you think is the strongest asset that CN possesses? I said, without hesitation, we have an excellent railroad. It's been very well maintained, but all of our other businesses, hotels, oil and gas, real estate, consulting, telecommunications, are all very poorly managed and really are distracting us from our core business, which is running a great railroad. We decided that night, 10 years ago, to dispose of all the non-core assets and focus all of our energy on being the very best railroad. This was our dream. We worked very hard to make it a reality. Our debt load in 1994 was over $3 billion. By 1995, we had sold off all the non-core rail assets, and our debt was slightly over $1 billion when we went public on November the 28th, 1995, and raised $2.3 billion of equity, the largest initial public offering in Canadian history by any corporation. We had the lowest debt equity ratio among all North American railroads by a considerable margin. So we started our public company life with a very strong balance sheet. Today, after slightly more than 9 years as a public company, we are the world's most profitable and most efficient railroad. Our stock was issued for $27 in 1995, and today, accounting for 2 stock splits, the value is over $185, a 700% appreciation. By any standard, this is a great Canadian success story. Now you must be wondering, this is not a business audience. Why is he telling us this story? I do so to illustrate how important it is to follow your dream. Martin Luther King said, "I have a dream." And in his short lifetime, his dream changed the lives of black people in the United States more than anyone could ever imagine. Anything is possible if you dream big and follow it with a passion. A few weeks ago, my wife and I were privileged to spend a wonderful evening with David Foster. He's a Canadian jewel. He became one of the greatest songwriters and music producers in the world. He is humble, he is so talented, and he seems to have a magic wand that touches your heart with the music he produces. He wrote The Power of the Dream for the Atlanta Summer Olympics, and each time it's played, it lifts my spirits and sends shivers up my spine. There is so much power unleashed when you dream big dreams. Many years ago, my wife and I were in Spain, and we met a woman whose husband turned out to be Eric Sloane, one of America's great artists and authors. We later visited the Sloanes in their wonderful rural home in Connecticut. Eric, in 1993, wrote a book for the American Bicentennial called The Spirits of '76. He gave me a copy one night, and I was really moved. I sat up all night and I read it cover to cover. It was about the spirits that he felt made America a great nation. It was only 10 chapters long, and the spirits he spoke about were as follows: the spirit of respect, the spirit of hard work, the spirit of frugality, the spirit of thankfulness, the spirit of pioneering, the spirit of godliness, the spirit of agronomy, the spirit of time, the spirit of independence, and finally, the spirit of awareness. It was a fundamental view of Eric's dream in, of, and for America. His secretary was asked to read the manuscript and offer her comments. She said, "Eric, it's a great book, but it doesn't offer much for the future." So he wrote an 11th chapter called The Spirit of Hope. I want to quote the last paragraph of the book because I believe it contains a very powerful message for each of you. "The young have new, clean, strong filters that can screen out the good from the bad more quickly than we older, worn-out people. In youth lies hope. I'm convinced that the spiritual pollution which has changed so thoroughly moral a nation is not as strong as the powerful spirits it was born with. In living for today, we can dream for tomorrow and learn from yesterday." Eric's wife always said he lived every day like it would be his last, never wasting a moment. And I think my wife often thinks I live the same way. Eric collapsed and died at the age of 80, crossing a street in New York, heading for a meeting with his publisher to do another book. If you visit the Airspace and Science Museum in Washington, D.C., the 2-story mural that stands at the entrance illustrating clouds, the flight of ducks, and airplanes was done by Eric Sloane. He certainly taught me to follow my dreams with passion. So as you ponder your future, you wrestle with what will make you a success in life. Perhaps you should ask the question, what is success? The best answer I can give you is the words of Emerson when he said, "What is success? To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of fake friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a better place, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition. To know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. That is to have succeeded." You live at a time full of opportunities. Never in our history have there been so many choices for you to pursue. You are equipped with computer skills that enable you to communicate instantly with the world's new developments in technology. I remember being at a conference in London, England a few years ago. We just heard a speech by Sir William Rees-Mogg, who had written a best-selling book called Blood on the Streets. It was a very depressing book, painting a very bleak picture of the future. After he was finished, an older gentleman in the audience, who was in his late 80s, rose to speak. He said, "I totally disagree." He said, "I believe we are living at a time of great progress. Computers have revolutionized the way we do business, which has caused changes far greater than those in the Industrial Revolution. I am totally optimistic about the future of the world, and I believe fervently that the youth of today are far better equipped to deal with the world's problems than ever we were. They are far more aware of the issues. They communicate much better, and they see the bigger picture." The speaker was Charles Templeton, one of the world's wisest and most successful investors, founder of the Templeton Funds. He too had big dreams. I believe in life you should have heroes, and you should seek out what I call the great ones, people who truly have left a great impression on their times. For me, the Kennedy family had a huge impact on the world through their words and their wisdom, often expressed in their speeches. I personally was a great fan of Robert Kennedy, who ran for president after his brother had been assassinated. They were both very courageous, and they had huge dreams for their country, which most aptly was expressed by Robert Kennedy when he said, "Some men see things as they are and ask why. I dream dreams that never were and say, why not?" One of my favorite poets and also one of my heroes was Robert Frost. He stood beside President Kennedy on Inauguration Day, and although he was very old at the time and the sun was blinding his ability to see his words, he said, "I cannot see my script, but I will recite a poem I do not need to read. It's in my heart." I too have one of Robert Frost's poems in my heart, which I want to share with you, as I believe there is a very powerful message, far greater than I could express to you in any other way. And it's called "Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening." Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year, he gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sound's the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. So, my fellow students, go forth. Follow your dreams with all the energy and all the passion you can muster. The world awaits you.
Thank you, Dr. McLean.